Joining us now is former senior CIA intelligence officer Mark Polymeropoulos. Good to see you, my friend. So, you spent time in Moscow while you worked in the CIA. You write, Trump's Ukraine betrayal will have terrible consequences. How so?
Well, I have a unique view of kind of international affairs. I was a practitioner for the U.S. government. I was a CIA operations officer. And so, I was not on the National Security Council in the White House. I wasn't in an academic institution. I wasn't at a think tank. I was out on the front lines. And oftentimes we would work with indigenous groups, whether it was Afghans during the global war on terrorism, whether it was Iraqis, Iraqi Kurds, for example, in our conflict with Saddam Hussein. And so that's the idea that you break bread with your partners. You celebrate when they have successes, you mourn when they're killed in action. And so my view of this is personal. And in talking to my old colleagues who served in Ukraine, who were part of this kind of effort against Russia, they have a very strong feeling on this. And I think they're right in the sense of, we used to be the good guys. This was a David versus Goliath story. And if we can't be on the right side of history in this kind of struggle against Russia, who are we? And in the end, if we end up at some point becoming neutral in the conflict, which it sounds like we are, and then almost siding with Russia, we're never going to have friends in the future. And this has ramifications for, potential conflict with China. Are people in Taiwan going to look at us to come to their assistance? And so I think there's some profound meaning in what's happening right now that not only hurts a lot of us who did these things for a living, but also has ramifications for the future.
So how much has this hurt America's reputation on the world stage? And how do you think Vladimir Putin's seeing this?
Well, we used to be the good guys. Again, this is a conflict with Ukraine. This was, a black versus white, David versus Goliath. In the global war on terrorism, things got murky. We stayed in Afghanistan and Iraq for probably too long. But in this case, we're on the side of the Ukrainians who were suffering terribly. And so I think that it does have, huge ramifications. The U.S. used to be seen, I hope it still can be, as the bright, shining city on the hill. We are we have a values-based foreign policy, and now it just seems like it's transactional, and that again, this idea that we're somehow neutral in a conflict against Russia, which is in effect a terrorist state that raped, murdered, pillaged thousands in Ukraine. Something's wrong with that, and I think people around the world are going to look at us. Certainly in Europe, there is an absolute crisis right now. They're wondering if the U.S. would ever come to their assistance under Article 5 in NATO, for example. Again, who are we right now? And I think that's a pretty important question to ask.
Given that Donald Trump is a very transactional president, with this feud between the two presidents out in the open, what cards does Ukraine have left to play? Because the Washington Post reports both sides are nearing a deal for Ukraine's mineral resources. Is this the biggest card they have?
Well, there's no doubt that Ukraine is desperate. And so this notion of this mineral deal, which one could also see as extortion, some of the details are leaking, and that's the U.S., taking control of 50% of some of the wealth of Ukraine, maybe trying to recoup $500 billion. But I think that we have it all wrong once again. This is the idea that somehow Ukraine should be appreciative of U.S. assistance. I think it's the other way around. I think we should be thanking Ukraine. Again, Russia is an enemy of the United States, and the Ukrainians have managed to attrit 50% of the Ukrainian military. They've sank nearly the entire, Black Sea fleet. They're doing us a favor. We should be thanking them and not certainly asking that they, somehow provide us with so much of their kind of natural wealth. They're going to need this for rebuilding.
I'm going to ask our viewers to go to msnbc.com and look for your article. It was posted today. It is extraordinary. Lots to get from it. Thank you, Mark. Good to see you.